Freedom may come, but it is a long road to economical, emotional, and spiritual freedom. Global Community Rising is a humanitarian, nonprofit organization started in South Africa, in Acornhoek, which is in the Bushbuckridge region in the province of Mpumalanga.
Our mission is to empower marginalized communities to stand up and help and believe in themselves.
The people in these marginalized communities experience many challenges in their daily life. About 4% have running water. There is a 60 to 70% unemployment rate. There are many orphans and orphan-headed households. Many of the effects of oppression from apartheid still linger, which include crime and gender inequality. The HIV rate is about 1 out of 4 people, and even higher in other areas. There is a cycle of poverty and a lack of ability to believe in themselves. There are little opportunities for youth once they have completed high school. Many of the youth we work with come from orphan-headed households, as shown here. Many challenges face these youth, but with encouragement and support, they are learning to stand up for themselves.
This family of orphans is in front of their house that they have lived in for many years. We found the orphans struggling to make bricks for building a new house. Global Community Rising assisted them with some building materials and encouragement.
This is a house that the same orphans are building, using bricks that they are making with sand they brought in by wheelbarrows from nearby areas. They are also growing their own food. In the areas they live in, many people are growing their own food. These are peanuts that these women are harvesting. Many of these women grow food and market it as a way of providing food for themselves and an ability to live. Shown here is a typical pit toilet, where there is no running water, but is just a toilet in the back of a house. Most of the houses in this area have grass roofs, called thatch. Rural life is difficult because in order to build your house, you have to cut your own grass and make your own bricks. This structure is a structure for drying corn, which is a staple food in South Africa. The fire is made under the roof to keep the corn dry so insects won't eat it. This is corn that is drying. This is a typical area for cooking food. Most food is cooked outside using wood in a fire and using bricks to surround the area they have made. This is also a thatched house. Most people who now live in the cities or in a nice house in the rural areas have originally come from living in a small house with a grass roof, and these houses are in the rural areas. Electricity is now in a lot of the rural areas where it hadn't been in a few short years ago. Even though most people don't have running water, most people in these areas now have electricity.
But it's a challenge for them to pay for their electricity since the unemployment rate is so high. Life in the rural areas is hard, especially for women.
This woman is grinding her own corn, which is a staple food of South Africa. On her back is a baby who is rocked back and forth as the mother grinds corn. Many hours are spent grinding this corn. Once the corn has been ground, it is formed into what is called mealie meal. Corn is called mealies in South Africa. It is cooked into a hard porridge in large pots, usually over a fire, and this porridge is a staple food. Many people eat porridge with vegetables, meat, or just by itself if there is no other food. Many rural South Africans are engaged in agriculture. Herds of cattle, goats, and chickens are everywhere, including wandering in the villages. And because of the dry winter months, it is a challenge to keep the plants and animals alive, but people depend on them for survival. Many times in the winter months, many of these cows and other animals look very thin because of the lack of food and water. At night, youth will take their cows and put them into their corrals to protect them from theft, as the crime is still high in many rural areas. This youth is herding his family cattle to the corral. Socializing is an important part of rural life, and here a home brew made from grain brings together local community members for mainly the purpose of socializing. Both men and women get together and they talk, they drink, and they pass away many hours of idle time.
Yet there are dangers to this kind of socializing.
Young men and women become addicted and have sex with the old people and rob them of their pension money. With the unemployment rate so high, alcohol is commonly used as an escape, and the HIV rate goes up. Gender inequality issues are magnified, and the crime rate goes up.
Oh no, I can't go. All right.
This man has proudly written his name with ash from the fire to show us his skill, even though he didn't have a pen. Wild fruit is being picked from the tree. Some fruit is still grown out in the wild, and it is a way for people to access food. This woman is making rope out of plants for the use of making mats and tying grass for the thatched roofs. Getting water in these rural areas can be a challenge. Most people do not have running water, and so what they do is gather these plastic jugs and push them in wheelbarrows, sometimes a long way to a community water tap. It is a task that needs to be done daily, but the unfortunate part is that many times these community taps do not have water available on a daily basis. So a lot of times the plastic jugs are lined up for as many as a few days at a time until the water comes. And then people have to come back with their wheelbarrows. Many of the people gathering the water are women or children. All of the water they need for their household use for bathing, cooking, washing, or if they are trying to grow food, must come from these plastic jugs being pushed down the road in a wheelbarrow.